Thank you so much for convening
Thank
this
thank you.
meeting. There's a big need for discussion, especially that not only Darfur, but the whole Sudan has gone under the radar for so long. I have 5 points for the 5 minutes, 5 points to make, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. The first point I would like to make is regarding the situation, the siege of Al-Fasher and the situation in Darfur in general, it cannot be discussed and understood, analyzed, unless it's put in the context of Sudan and the context of the region as well. So an important point I would like to stress is that any assessment of the situation should keep in mind that both sides, the SAF and the RSF, have carried out actually massacres of civilians, and they have both targeted humanitarian aid and aid workers. There's no doubt that the RSF is more responsible for the siege and starving the population, but the SAF is not innocent either. So this should come, of course, as no surprise to anyone, given the long record of the human rights abuses of the SAF and its militias, including the RSF. And also, we need to keep in mind that the situation in Al-Fasher must be understood in the context of the looming danger of state disintegration. The RSF, as you know, is attempting to establish a parallel government in Darfur, while we're witnessing a gradual dismantling of state central authority and an eroding national sovereignty. These are very important to any way of dealing with this situation. The second point, the Al-Fasher crisis also reflects a wider crisis of multilateralism in a shifting international order. We wouldn't be we wouldn't be complaining about the silence around Darfur and Sudan in general if this situation in the world today was different, because international organizations, including the UN and the UN Security Council in particular, have unfortunately lost much of their political weight in this age of great power competition. So calling for UN intervention, as many have been doing recently, looks, of course it's ideal, but unrealistic, especially since Sudan has slipped down the priority list for major powers that are focused on other conflicts, be it Ukraine, China, US competition, or Gaza. There are many conflicts around the world, and unfortunately, Sudan is not on the list, not on the priority list at least. So the UN has been unfortunately reduced to a limited humanitarian role that itself depends on the will of the powerful states. That's also a major point that needs to be taken into consideration. Thirdly, there have been many mediation initiatives, such as the Jeddah talks or IGAD, but they have failed to secure a lasting ceasefire for many reasons that we don't have time to address. But meanwhile, the Troika, including, of course, the UK, US, and Norway, no longer seem relevant for Sudan for many reasons as well, especially given the deep aid cuts by the US. And other initiatives we've seen recently, the London conference, unable also to, the conference, of course, on Sudan, unable to secure even a joint statement or agreements due to many divisions. The fifth point, and this is what I would like to go with the way forward, the last point, we need to ask who are the main sponsors of this war and who can pressure them to stop fueling it. So as we know, there are several countries backing the Sudanese armed forces, mostly, of course, Egypt, Iran, Turkey, amongst others, while the RSF has been mainly receiving support from the Emirates as well as Libya afterwards, and a network across the Sahel. So there are still three major states in particular that hold decisive financial, military, and political leverage. And I'm talking here about Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and UAE. So if these states, if they're mobilized, they could play a key role in ending the civil war, preventing Sudan from collapsing, and of course, ending the siege in Al-Fasher. So this takes us to the question, who can pressure them to take this role? In my view, there's only one major power today with that capacity. It's the US, including under the Trump administration. So far, unfortunately, we've seen the US giving less attention as required to Sudan's war, and despite the serious risk. But the US has some strong foundations that it can build on. First, Trump and his administration have emphasized ending global conflicts with the US mediation in Ukraine. We're hoping that it will succeed. It has played a role in Rwanda agreements, in Armenia and Azerbaijan conflicts. So showcasing American influence is crucial to countering China. So I think it can do it. The administration has shown interest also in Africa, hosting summits and brokering peace deals. Sudan has already been identified as a next mediation priority. And the Trump administration does not need to start from zero, from scratch. It can build on the recent Quad for Sudan initiative, which gained momentum in June when Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and UAE met with the US Deputy Secretary of State, Christopher Orlando, and Senior Advisor of Africa, Mr. Boulos. This format could continue. It could also be combined with Jeddah Talk or Jeddah Track, and later be expanded to IGAD and probably other actors. Whatever format is chosen, I believe the Trump administration has the capability of pressuring SAF and RSF through the Gulf Quad members to sit down and work out a deal that guarantees a civilian government. It is very difficult, but not impossible. This way forward would not only save Fasher and Darfur, but Sudan as a whole before it's too late. Thank you.